Starting. Awesome.
Ah,
Here we go. Friends, this is take two for Jamie and I. This is my dear friend Jamie. Welcome to the podcast where small talk comes to die. So we had a good, I don't know, 3, 5 minutes of conversation here already. And yet I realized, oh no, I forgot to press the record button. So the rookie podcaster is finding his way. But let me introduce Jamie again. Jamie is a dear follower of mine, but we've become really good friends. I love when Jamie comes on my live session. He's one of those people who's like a fantastic host. He's like my host on my live sessions because when he comes on, he interacts with others on there and he continues to keep the pulse. He's a fantastic moderator. And so, Jamie, I'm glad to have you on my podcast, the Bincast,
thank you.
where small talk comes to die. Now, again, guys, I usually start off with a very clear page here, meaning there's no agenda that we've preset of what we're talking about. We will recap what we did talk about just a brief moment here. But we're going to get to know Jamie in the next hour here. And I'm excited for you guys to get to know him because he is a fantastic specimen of humanity. Jamie, welcome to the Vidcast.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Now, again, Jamie, just for my audience here, I'm going to ask some questions here. Where are you from? What's up in life? And where are you hoping to head?
I'm from Wakefield, which is it. I want to pursue acting. I do have a I do have a passion for it, but yeah, that's it really.
Cool. The connection sometimes may feel a little slow for my listeners here just because there's a bit of a lag. So patiently bear with us as we accommodate the limitations of technology, but so glad we can still have this here. So you're in your final year, which means you're preparing for your finals, you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
On a
Yes, I
scale of
am.
10, tell me what the stress level is like for you in preparation for the upcoming exams.
I'd probably say 10.
Oh, wow. So you really feel a lot of pressure. 10 out of 10 for pressure.
That's because I struggle with anxiety as well, so it doesn't help a single bit.
Wow. Okay. Um, would you say a lot of that stress is driven externally or internally? Is it you that's driving yourself and really hard on yourself, would you say? Or is it, say, parents or community expectations or something along those lines?
I'd probably say it's me because I overthink a lot of stuff and just put too much pressure on myself.
Okay. So you're the one who's your worst enemy that way.
Yeah.
How long would you say you have been this way, where you're really hard on yourself, expecting really high things from yourself?
About 3 years now.
Past 3 years. If you can look back in those past 3 years, can you identify something that happened along the way where you're like, I'm gonna make this switch or shift, or maybe it happens subconsciously, but can you remember what was the catalyst for this shift?
I don't even think I can remember it now. I just can't. But I think it's just the teachers. Sometimes it can be teachers. Sometimes it can just be anything really.
Sure, sure. You're in your final year. You're preparing really hard for it, and it's definitely on your radar. It's taking a lot of attention and uh, anxiety-inducing experiences. What would you say is your worst subject and your best subject?
Maths
The maths are your worst subject or your best?
is my worst, and then my best
Oh,
is PE, which is sports.
nice. You and I could so like if I were your age in school, we would be like both in the same spot. I would say my toughest ones were definitely math and sciences.
Yeah.
My mind just struggles with those ones, right? But PE was your and continues to be your best sport.
Yeah.
So you're very athletically inclined, is that right?
hmm Yeah. I spend most of my time doing sports.
Sports. And which ones are your top commitments, sports wise?
Football and basketball.
Okay. Football, as in the British football, right? That means
Yeah, the British.
soccer here in Canada.
Yeah,
Okay.
soccer.
Football and basketball.
hmm
why it is that I'm starting to see why I really liked you as much as I have. Because again, same answers on my end. That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Um, who in all of your school years has been your favorite teacher, and why has that teacher been like so significantly influential in your life?
I would probably say uh, somebody called Mr. Gumley. He was like a geography teacher. He actually gave me courage to do geography. You know what I mean? Like pushed me so I can actually concentrate
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. I think I know what that's like. I know some of my most influential teachers have been in subjects that I really didn't care for, and yet they almost brought a new passion, understanding, and desire to like learn more because of who they were, right? But I'm going to
Yeah,
ask, what was it about Mr. Gormley that really made him distinct from the rest of your teachers?
like he like from when he was teaching and stuff. Even though like because I was quite naughty. So even though I was naughty and stuff, he never gave up on me. He still like treated me as like a normal like good person. And then he just like helped me with geography because I struggled, and now I prefer doing it.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So basically, you're saying he patiently continued to work alongside you in a way that you felt, hey, he's for me and I can trust his intentions because he's taking his time with me. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. Huh. That's really cool. Um, so then, if you could have the ear of teachers in general, imagine they're all sitting in front of you. They have their notepads and they're like, okay, please, Jamie, what does it take for us to up our game as teachers in our influence so that your experience is not having to choose a small few who are amazing, but you're like, there's a whole bunch of really amazing people. What would you say to these teachers as they're sitting in front of you saying, what do we need to do to up our game?
Just don't give on people. Some people struggle and have different outlets to it. Like some people will just like act up like naughty and stuff. And I'd also say that like you need to when you explain how to do work, you need to explain in a way we understand, not just a way
Mm,
they want to tell it.
gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, it almost seems like there's some elements there of just saying treat us like human beings as far
Yeah.
as fellow fellow humans who are just trying to figure things out along the way with patience if necessary, right? Yeah.
hmm
Do you know what you're made for, Jamie? Do you know like what your future career is going to look like, or is that something you're still exploring?
Um, I want to do something productive. Like I don't want to be sat in a office. Like I want to either make it into sports or do like acting or something like that.
Acting, you say?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Okay, we'll come back to that though. That's pretty cool. Um, has this been the same theme of what you wanted to do from when you were super young, or has that evolved over time?
The acting evolved like from like 2 years ago, but sports has always been like the main part of me.
Okay, gotcha. Um, on the acting front, here's an interesting question I'd like to sort of process with you. But before I do, let me just find out a little bit more about acting. What is it about acting that you really resonate with? What is it about acting you're like, this is why I love this potential forecast in my future?
Like you bring magic to people, like you bring hope into people's lives and stuff like that. Like
I
it
love that.
especially did with me.
That's amazing. Okay, tell me more. What do you mean when you say you bring magic? Because I love the sound of that. I want to pinpoint what you're trying to aim at there.
Um, like you'll see somebody act and like it just brightens up your day. Like saying you go through a tough time, like
Yes.
that movie can just like it could help you get through like the next week just thinking about it. Because if it's like an amazing movie with the amazing cast, then like it's like it has a cause into it has like an effect into your life. You'll always like come back and watch it again.
So cool. I love it. I love it. It makes me think about my experience working with kids. So I've worked with kids for a very long time. Kids from like really young preschool kids. Jamie, oh, stop recording. No, okay, we're still going. It was kids really young to like teenagers. Now I've learned
Hmm.
along the way there's different ways to engage the different age categories. But when I was working with the young kids, I couldn't help but reflect that what you just said there is exactly what I was doing. I would like to bring magic to the kids where they're like, wow, amazing, you know? And it wasn't any magic tricks. And I don't think you're talking about magic tricks either. I think
No.
you're talking something along the lines of magic that inspires the heart, that brings out the smile and an expression of joy and happiness. Is that what you're aiming for to say?
Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for.
That's amazing. And the best way that I found to like get to that destination in my experience, Jamie, was when I was able to forget about what it's like to be society like grown-up adults, right? To like, be on your best behavior, don't forget people are watching. When I totally said screw that, and I'm like getting right down to the kids level and engaging in a more animated way with the kids, in a way that they're like, this guy's for real. Like I'm almost convincing them that I'm for real as I'm goofy with them. And then they have that permission now to also be goofy and enjoy that moment. And I can't help but imagine that's something of what you're describing as well, eh?
Yeah, that is.
That's so cool. Okay. So acting slash sports is what you'd love to see yourself going to in the future. Um, I think you're going to be successful, Jamie, because just from what I know about you, you've got a really solid stock that you come from character-wise. I love what I see. I love the way you chime in, and I can see that when I interact with you. Um, I'm going to go back to that point there in just a moment about where that comes from. But before I do, I want to just theoretically go forward now. Going forward, I can't help but see you being successful in the future, Jamie. As you hit success in the future, in whether sports or acting, something that usually happens is you grow in fame, right? You grow in popularity. The world knows your name as Hamilton, let's say. But how would you keep track of who you are as a person that is still accessible? How are you going to keep, or how are you planning or thinking about keeping from ever getting too good for where you once were in being accessible and reaching people?
I never forget where I came from. You can't, like, as your fame goes up, you can't forget where you came from. So like my plans, if I do become like famous and rich, I'm going to give back to people less fortunate than like how I am on everyone else. Like give back to other countries and stuff because like everyone deserves a fair life, and like it's not fair that people don't. I never forget like where I lived, where I came from, how like
Hmm.
the struggle. Because I don't come from like a mega rich family, so like
Hmm.
still everybody has struggles in life, and like I would never forget that.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that too now. Where you came from. Give us what you feel comfortable sharing about how, like, where you came from, some of the things that
Mhm.
have sort of factored in to make you who you are today. And let me just give you a small example for myself. I would say I come from a very religious background. Fantastic parents who were very strict and helped me become the person who I am today. So I'm thankful for that in the aftermath. But I came also from a background where I never felt safe to be who I really was and express what was really on my mind. And that through some significant complications, whereby I struck out on a trajectory in life that lacked integrity and honesty. And I'm having to walk back on now and say, let me just try this again. Right. So those are some of the significant milestones in my life that make me who I am today and why I really value, for example, honesty and that ability to say, here's how life really makes sense for me. So, in your case, what would you say in relation to that that has made you who you are today, given your background?
Um, I came, I've came back from a good family. Like my mum and dad split, and
Mhm.
due to like stuff in the relationship, which then like I grew up, you know, I just grew up with my mum, loving mum. Then my dad, then I finally spoke to my dad again because I used to be like scared of my dad and stuff because he is a big person. And they
Mhm.
then yeah, like I was quite arrogant when I was like years ago, but like something like in my life that just made me like think differently because
Mhm.
um it was last year around October, which I were arrogant, like quite arrogant. But then obviously I got jumped, and then after that I just sort like it just changed me. It completely changed me for the better. Like I'm not arrogant anymore. Like I used to be very judgy, and then I just respect. I have like compassion for everybody, no matter where they come from. Like if they have a disability, anything, I have compassion for them.
Wow. You're 17 years old now, is that correct?
No, I'm 16 in 2 weeks.
Gotcha. 16, 2 weeks. When you say you got jumped, is that another way of saying you got robbed?
No, it were like 10v1. Just like I was just like there was this person who was racist. I was having we were having like a fight. We were a 2v1, but then they got like 10 others to jump in as well.
I see. So it's like 10 against you.
Yeah.
Wow. I see. And was that altercation, was that fight initiated because of your arrogance, in part?
Yes, it was also because he were like racist and just picked on me because of my skin color, but it were also due to like I was just like, right, that's it, let's just do it. Even though I was coming back from a dislocated shoulder as well.
Gotcha. Tell me a little bit about your ethnic background. What is your ethnic background?
Um, my dad's from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
Gambia.
Yep.
Didn't like he made me like grateful for stuff because when he was younger, his father passed away, so his mum had to raise everyone on like a farm there. So
Yeah.
then he came over here and he had me and just tried teaching me the ways as much as he could.
Gotcha. Now you're mentioning a little bit about the story just earlier when you said your mom and dad split up and then you never saw your dad again. Is that right?
Yeah.
How old were you then, Jamie?
I think I was around like 4, 5 maybe.
So quite young.
Yeah, because my brother was just only born, and then like they got a divorce and stuff, and then it just separated.
So for the most part, you've grown up without a dad then, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask a more sober question. Feel free to press the rain check button here if you're like, I need to come back to that one, or I may not be comfortable with that one. What is it like for you? I think, what is it like growing without a dad figure in your life?
It was I didn't really I didn't really like know a lot, so but it was like hard because like my dad wanted me to succeed in like sports, but he couldn't see me that
Mm,
much, so then he couldn't take me to football and stuff. So I did miss
mhm.
out on years of like sports and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm fine with that now. I'm fine. I'm
Hmm.
grateful I can play
Sure.
now.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, it was just very challenging for my mum, like trying to work and balance me and my brother, and then now I have a stepdad, uh, who I love, and then I've
Nice.
got my dad as well. They've all
Yeah.
like my mum and dad have sorted stuff out, and
Nice.
yeah,
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Sometimes it's those make or break moments or seasons in our life, especially when there's like tremendous like hardships, tremendous struggles, that continue to evolve and make us who we are. So like I'm learning so much about you, man. Like I would never have guessed that you had an arrogant past, like a judgy sort of
yeah,
disposition.
yeah. It was really horrible.
I believe you. I can relate too. I've been there. I've definitely been there. Jamie, though, if you were to like explore or dig a little further down, what would you say was the source that brought you to an arrogant sort of disposition? What was the factors that sort of brought the shift where you felt like you were in that zone of kind of looking down on people?
Probably uh, like when they were also when my dad came back and he's quite he used to be like a very like arrogant and stuff as well himself. So obviously that and like just everyday life really. I'd like anger management. Me and my brother don't get along that much, so he fights quite a lot. Stuff like that
Mm,
really.
mm. We got so many similarities, my friend. So many similarities. A lot of people are shocked when they find out that I too have had anger management struggles when I was younger. True story. And they're like, no way. But I can totally relate. I can totally relate.
Mhm.
Um, Tell me a little bit about your struggle, if there was any, with relation to your skin color, your ethnic background, what that looked like, how it marked you, how you are, how you processed it, and how you're continuing to process that.
Well, I used to go through a lot of racism when I was younger because I was like, it was only me and another person when I was younger.
Mhm.
And then coming into high school, you get like different skin colored people and stuff like that.
Sure.
But like, I dealt with it a lot. I still deal with it now, but like, it affected me a lot then. But now it's like, it's just like someone spraying me with a water. It'll just dry off, and it doesn't affect me a single bit.
Okay. What was really helpful for you? And I'm trying to see how it can be helpful for the audience as well too. In
Yeah.
your experience, what was helpful for you, Jamie, to get to that point where you transition to it doesn't affect you today as it once did before?
I think it was like it just got to a point where I was like, I'm practically this. I'm practically you. I may come from a different household, different family, but and different skin color. But other than that, I am you. I came on this. I came on Earth to do good in life. I came to help make a cause to something in the future. I didn't come here just to be negative to people
Okay.
and like, caring about what people care like said about my skin color. They can say like people can
Mhm.
say stuff about my skin color, and I couldn't care
Mhm.
because I like for myself. Everyone should. You can't just that's just not like how it should go.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, you mentioned anxiety is one of those things that you struggle with in life currently.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I know I do get asked, you probably see me being asked by many, how do I deal with anxiety? And initial responses, I actually don't know because I personally don't know what it's like to struggle with anxiety. Tell me a little bit more about your struggle with anxiety. How long has it been going on, and how have you learned some ways in managing and coping with it, living with it, if that's what you're still doing? What's that like for you?
Mm-hmm. Um, it it affects my breathing. Affects like I get I it's
Okay, Jamie,
to
I'm just
like
going to pause you there.
yeah
I'm just going to pause
yeah
here. The connection was lagging just a wee bit. So would you try repeating your answer just because I don't want our audience to miss what you have to say? Try again if you would please, brother.
yeah right. Anxiety like it affects my breathing. It affects like my just thoughts. It affects like I get pains and stuff, and
Yeah,
like I can't get rid of the thoughts for like the full time. And like the best I found the best way to cope with it is I told somebody like because I get
yeah,
counselling at school, but I told somebody about it, and like telling just one person it makes it
yeah,
so much easier. And when you're struggling, you just gotta get you like find something you like, if that's music,
yeah,
games, I
yeah,
whatever, and you just gotta take your mind off of it as much as you can. And obviously, it'll come back when you get you're more stressed, but then so it has a less effect than before when it just like affected me. It still affects me a lot because I'm very self conscious, but other than that, I'm I can I can deal with it quite.
I'm just going through a moment there of lag, I think, but I think you're still there. You're still there, right?
Yeah,
Awesome, good, good. You were saying something there that intrigued me as well, a little further, and that is you were saying that your experience sometimes led you to isolation when you were anxious. And would you say that it almost debilitated your sense of knowing how to be accomplishing anything or being productive? Was that part of that dynamic too?
yeah, that was. It did like affect me thinking like I'm not gonna do anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is what's the point? it like stops you from focusing on like main things and brings all the negative sides of stuff, and it
How long has the anxiety experience been prevalent in your life?
around for around 2 years now.
2 years, okay. So before that, you were carefree, and now, wait, when did you go through this metamorphosis from your old, judgy, arrogant self to this new Jamie that we enjoy and see today?
Uh, Last October, but the anxiety
Last,
were like still there. It was still there, but like I could hide it, and now I can't. Cause like I've changed, and like when I changed, it was just that came with it.
gotcha, gotcha. Would you say that was the most impacting experience in your life, or is there something you point to that says this is actually more impacting my life, more life shifting as far as the way you think and see the world and your part in it?
I,
I think there's just a pause there. Talk to me again. There you are. You're back
yeah,
again. Let me just repeat the question again,
yeah.
just so we catch everything. Hey, I hope you don't mind this. This is just us, my dear listeners, working out the technological issues, but it doesn't take away from my dear Jamie. So, Jamie, the question again was this season where you transitioned after you got jumped, when you were
Yeah.
beat up by all those guys, and you went from your arrogant self to your new self and where you presently are in your commitments? Was that the most significant event in your life that was a big shift, or would you say something else was?
Um, this was definitely it. Like gave me a kick in my life, saying like, "This isn't what you're doing. You need to do something with your life. You can't just come. Everyone's born for a purpose, no matter what that is. Even if it's a small thing or a big thing. You hear everyone's here. Maybe even life may be shorter, but you've got to live your life like you've got like there's no tomorrow, and you've just got to do everything positive, not negative. Like,
I'm starting to see a lot of the development that has brought you to who you are today. And it's pretty powerful. I would not have guessed all of this. This is amazing. Um, it made me think about how a lot of these breakthroughs in who we are come through the most
mm-hmm.
difficult of transitions, right? The most difficult of pressures, pains. And the thing is, while we're going through that deep valley, that deep darkness, it doesn't seem like we're guaranteed success coming out on the other end, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So here, let me put it this way here, this question. It might be a little more challenging, but the question is, do you think it's necessary for everyone to have that deep value to get to the other end where they're continuing to become a more refined version of themselves? Another way of saying is, would you wish these kind of calamities, these kind of like devastations in people's life, is that something that's fair to say? I hope something like that comes so that you can get to a really strong, fortified version, or would you think about that in a different way?
I'd say maybe because some people handle this in like different ways, obviously, because not
Mm-hmm.
everyone's the same, everyone's different. But like people, because you like this is really giving me a kick. Like now, I'm so dedicated to school, doing my
Yeah,
work, trying to get it done, do the best
yeah,
for my life.
yeah.
But other people, it'd be like a fall for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the scary part about this is, as necessary as it is for most of us who have gone through the deep valley and say that was a significant event that made me who I am today, and we really are thankful for who we are today. The scary part about that is not all of us are guaranteed that kind of an outcome, right? There are so many, Jamie, who go through that valley, that deep darkness, that rock bottom, and they continue to spiral downward too, right? So that's the sad part, I think. It made me think about a conversation I had with my rider last night. So I was driving through the night here, and one of the things I was talking with this individual saying was one of the one of the beneficial things I think that has happened with this whole pandemic that is global. All of us are been affected, right? It seems, especially for those in developing countries, it's helped us get to the point where we are experiencing our vulnerability in a real way, which means we can't just take a pill and fix it, right? So that's not in our realm of saying, okay, this will give us confidence again. But in the developing world, from my observation, it seems we've just come to a place where we feel like we can fix any problem. And so there's a certain sense of arrogance, perhaps, that comes with it, right? That we don't have to worry. We are the masters of our own fate. But when something comes in such a way, Jamie, where all of us are on the same page and we're all in uncertainty, right? Like what's going on here and how do we look after our safety and how do we continue to move forward in a way that's, tactfully respectful of others, but yet also, making sure we're tending to our boundaries. I think one of the things that I've seen is it's brought a renewed sense of our vulnerability, our frailty as humans, that we can be affected in adverse ways. And there are
Yeah.
opportunities to remember how to express kindness, patience, just extending that graciousness to your fellow human because we're all struggling our way forward, right? And I can't help but think of that when I think of your story here. Thoughts? What do you think?
I think you're right. You what you said is I can agree with you there. Like everyone needs like this is definitely shown like your life can just end at any point. So you need to do the best you can. Obviously you can't control when you come to the when you're born and when you die, but you from like when you get older you can like do so much kindness, put kindness into the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um,
Oh, goodness.
um, Tell me about your family dynamics. Are you the oldest? Are you the youngest? How many siblings do you have? Where do you fit amongst them?
I'm the oldest,
Okay.
and
Like
one of
me
my
again.
brothers, and I've got yeah, I've got three brothers.
Okay. And what's the age span between you and the youngest?
Uh, uh, so like 15 years, maybe 15, 14.
15,
He
14 years.
only he was really born around December.
So just to confirm, through that little leg there, are you saying you're 16, 15 or 16 years older than your youngest brother?
It was well, he was born in December, so I'd probably say around like 14, 15.
15 years older than your youngest.
And no, yeah.
That's crazy. Again, similar story to mine. That's amazing. Um, um, how is it for you being the oldest sibling? You have a lot more maturity now, I can see that. But what's it like for you as far as your relationship with your younger brothers? What are you trying to impart to them by way of experience and hoping your relationship goes? How do you process that?
It's a lot like they will look up to you. So you've got to. So I haven't seen my youngest because he lives in Gambia, so I haven't seen him yet. But I'm seeing him in December. But I have a. But then like I've just got to just show them the right ways, and I can't be showing them like the wrong because I don't want to be taking like showing them the wrong path. But that's
Sure.
it really.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've heard much about my story with my siblings. I'm the oldest of six kids, right? The big age gap
Oh.
between me and my youngest sister is 22 years difference. So three of them are super young, like they're much younger than I am. And then the two are closer to me in age. I was a rotten brother, Jamie. I was a rotten brother growing up. I burned a lot of bridges with the ones who are closer to me in age. So when the younger three came along, I saw them as my second chance to try and be a better brother again. So that was significant for me. Um, Man, we have
Mm.
so many similarities. It's crazy. Um, let me talk about the word legacy for you. What is What's the legacy you want to leave behind?
Um, behind is something like I helped, like I helped places in Africa just have food for the day, like something like that. I want to leave behind that. I didn't come here to be miserable.
Okay, just because there was a bit of a lag, I heard little bits here and there. Let me ask you to repeat your
Oh
answer.
yeah,
Again. That's okay, because you're coming through clear now.
yeah.
Try it again for our listeners.
Uh, um, the world, and I want to show through every dark time. There's still
Mhm.
things which I may not.
So what I was hearing there, you're saying you want to be a bright light in dark places for people to give them hope. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Yeah, that's a really big one. Um, Very cool. A huge part of that desire entails that you are growing as an individual internally, right? That you're growing in confidence internally, that you're growing in the kind of dynamic where you're like, no, I know what I'm bringing to the world and I'm very intentional about bringing it. And you're drawing from a really deep well that is confidence internally of who you are and what you're about. How are you in your life going forward, continuing to develop yourself that way?
Um, so
By the
that's a
way,
good
I'm
question.
asking you some really hard questions. I know, but I'm doing it because I think you'd be kind
Yeah,
of like. But that's why I appreciate this
yeah,
dynamic. We're unchoreographed. You're like just straight up. But I love where you like. I love what I see, and that's why I'm throwing out these big questions. You're doing well, my friend.
yeah. Could you repeat the question again? I forgot. Sorry.
Absolutely. As you intend to leave this legacy of amazingness in the world where you want to give hope to people, you want to help them smile, you want to change their dynamics, you want to be the light in dark places, you want to bring hope. Fantastic things. The really important part for those who are walking that pathway is that they have a really strong sense of who they are. They have deep reserves that they're drawing from as they give away because they're basically giving energy away. They're giving themselves away, right? How are you working on yourself in an ongoing way
Mm-hmm.
to develop yourself continually so that you are able to give amazing stuff out of yourself?
Just just like being close to positive people. Like I only allow positive people, not negative people, and like
Yeah,
just try to do some small acts of kindness.
yeah. And that's what something I've noticed, especially when you've been on my lives. And I've also loved. Now, are you still doing your lives by the way, brother? I was able to be part of your lives for a while there, and I was like, yes, this is amazing. But I haven't seen you on the radar.
Yeah.
Has that been something you've had to put on hold just because of your the season of life you're in as a student?
Well, obviously, I've got like school really early, so it's around 8:25, so I have to sleep quite like early. But
Fair enough.
I don't really do it that much anymore. I might
Yeah,
carry on. I probably will carry
sure,
on, but at the
sure.
moment maybe not. But like later on, like on weekends, I will.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I guess where I was going with that is the implementation of boundaries. You said something there that I was like, huh, that's really impactful. And I want our listening audience to hear. You're saying you are very careful about who you let in your life, right? You only like try to be around
Yeah,
positive. Why do you make that a big deal for yourself? Why does that make a big difference?
because the people who you're letting in your life, they're going to be next to you. They're going to be close to you, and like you're like hopefully going to tell them stuff. And if you're next to negative people who just learns not, it just makes you like unhappy and stuff.
Hmm.
And like positive people only, it makes you happy, it makes you positive, and it's also like helps you in feeling better about yourself and just trying to.
Yeah, on a different pathway. I love that answer. Um, I'm guessing this is a boundary you've implemented since that transitioning catalytic event in your life where you were jumped, right? Because I
Yeah.
can't. hear the arrogant Jamie saying, "Guys, I only allow positive people around me, right?" So that leads me to the next question, Jamie, and that is, tell me about your friendships that you're developing that are super close. Why are you choosing these individuals that's into your inner circle? Um, and what's the importance of that fact that is going to help in your own health mentally?
Um, they're not gonna be on. Like sometimes, like you'll have an argument, but that's just what happens with everybody.
Absolutely.
But like they're not gonna like put your hopes down, put whatever you want down. They're gonna be there supporting you no matter what you want to do. There for you instead of just there because they just feel like they need to. Like they want
Yeah.
to be your friend, and like
Yeah.
you, and then you feel good around them. Like
Yeah.
I've, and then like you felt like it, and you just feel like so happy and trustworthy. Like with me, trust and like trust and respect are the main things. Like respect's not given out; it's
Mm.
because they may say that your friend you haven't earned the respect yet. The respect is earned, and trust is earned over time as well. It's not just given to you as soon as you're friends with them.
Hmm. Hmm. Gotcha. Good. Um, who would you say is your hero in life, Jamie?
I don't have in here. I have a couple. Like I have like a couple because they all like the thing. But I think my main heroes are one was Chadwick Boseman. Definitely his passing definitely like like changed how I felt about like stuff. Like he was battling cancer for 4 years and he's still managed, even though that were negative for him, he still managed to bring happiness to other people who were battling through it as well, and just everyone really.
Before you tell me about the next person here,
Adam,
who is that person again? That they were just telling about who was battling cancer? Who was that?
Chadwick, it was
Okay.
Chadwick Boseman.
And he's like, is he like a sports star or like, tell me about him
He
because I don't know this.
he was a he was a like a actor for
Ah,
Black Panther.
of course, of course. You know, I usually don't take note of actors by their names, and so I'm totally oblivious. I'm like, who are you talking about?
Yeah,
They playing? Oh, I know that guy. I remember you featured his picture in your profile for a long season. It probably still is there, and so that's the
yeah,
kind of impact
it's
he's had,
still
right? Cool. Yeah, he seemed to have
yeah,
like a huge influence by way of, especially in the in the Black community, just what he was able to accomplish, especially in a movie that features people of color, and so yeah, he had a huge impact.
yeah, definitely. He added like he that that like Black Panther were the only movie set which had the most amount of black people on there. He showed like just because everybody like everyone's quite stereotypical with Africa saying, "Oh look, this put all they're all poor, they're all in like rundown shacks stuff like that." But like he was showing that like not everywhere is poor. Just because people say it is doesn't mean. And even if people are, they're still grateful for the life they have. Like us
Hmm.
people, we take it for granted, but they like then we forget about them people who are like struggling to just get water stuff.
Hmm. Hmm. So true. You're 16 years old. Are you still susceptible to peer pressure? You seem to have this really strong sense of who you are and what you're about and who's in and who's not in. Does peer pressure still affect you in this current season of life?
No, yeah, it still affects me.
Okay. And how do you sort of struggle your way through peer pressure?
Um, well, it's just like people will say or do it like your so-called mates will like tell you to do something like which is like antisocial or something. So they'll tell you to do it just because they made me do it. But in reality, like I can't not do it, if you know what I mean. Like, it's just like, then they all just complain and stuff, and I just dislike when people go on about me. Like, because when I go out and stuff, I just don't want to be talked about, because it just doesn't put me in a good mood a single bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
And like, fair enough, people are gonna talk about you, everybody will, but like, I just overthink it and I just get so like, it's just like, anxiety really does affect like how I am and stuff. Like, I'll be quiet. If I'm quiet in like school and stuff, it's mainly because of me going through anxiety. And if I've got hesitant, it's only because that's the only way I can cope through getting rid of the anxiety when I'm out and stuff.
Gotcha. Basically, the struggle is still real, even though you're in a really good place. You feel you still have to like intentionally address it. Cool.
Yeah.
The beautiful part about this process, Jamie, that I'm personally loving for myself is um, I've already had an affinity towards you. I already know why I admire and respect you, but it continues to increase the more I hear about how you're processing life and especially how you're like navigating through the potential humps along the way. It just, yeah, it makes you a
Yeah.
lot more, I don't know, I feel like I know you a lot better and I like that.
Yeah, I do.
Um, what causes would you, sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional here. What causes would you want to volunteer for and give your time for that are really close to your heart?
I'd, if I could, I would be helping help build schools in like Africa. I'd help make water pumps and stuff like that.
Mm,
If I had money, I'd donate stuff. I'd donate money to like cancer places, like cancer, because like nobody should go through that. Corona, stuff like
hmm
that. Like, nobody should come in the world and already
hmm
sick due to illnesses, which like we could we could maybe have. Like, I'm not saying that also arrogant. I spending all that cash. So I feel like some people need to, if you know what I mean.
Okay, I missed just the last maybe 30 seconds of that. Do you want to, can you repeat the last maybe
Oh,
30 seconds of that?
I was saying, if they're in the same position as them people, or saw how painful it is for families witnessing it, then they'd be spending the cash, because
Mm,
like nobody should go through that. Not anybody should go. Everyone should be like born right and in the fair. Nobody should be being bullied for how like if
mm,
disabilities or stuff. Everybody should like
mm.
just treat them as normal people.
Sure. And that would be nice. I would totally resonate with that. When I think about some of the injustices in the world, my friend, I struggle. I struggle just because there are so many places in the world where that equality of humanity is not understood or recognized or extended,
Hmm.
which makes it possible for so many injustices, right? Here we are now talking here, just a quick moment here. I just want to let my listeners know. Here we are talking about some really bad stuff. We've been talking a lot about bad stuff, but in the midst of all this bad stuff, I just want to bring that balance and say it's when we acknowledge the reality of how life is just really a struggle for every one of us. Every single one of us is going through like struggles, and it's not fun. It's not comfortable. And yet it's through these rough times as we focus on how we're navigating through it, how we're learning to process our way through it, that I've experienced, and I think you would probably agree with me, Jamie, that we experience collectively
Yeah.
a better progression in our own development, right? And so, like, I was just thinking back to my point about, again about how it just seems so unfair. There's so much injustice in the world, right? One of the things I reflect on often, Jamie, is how I'm thankful that we are only given little bite-sized chunks that we can handle of crappiness in this world, whether we're
Yeah.
observing it in other places in the world or whether we're experiencing it in our own personal lives. I'm so thankful. It's just like little bite-sized chunks because if it was everything in one whole dump, I'm not sure that I would survive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I'm glad to hear about your heart that way, where you're saying, here's things that really matter for me. If I could give myself away, here's where I would be investing myself. I probably answer that question in the following way for myself, because there's so many good causes, there's so many good things, and yet the reality is we can't just stretch ourselves for all those really worthwhile causes, right? So that's where people I think have different sort
Yeah,
of
we can.
burdens. Yeah, and for me, I'd probably say one of the ones for me is violence against women and children who are brought into exploitation, especially in the sex field. Those kind of stories for me, Jamie, I read those stories intentionally
Mm.
because I want to feel how passionately I am invested in stopping that kind of injustice. That's like my jam, where I'm like, that's so it's those kind of things that cause us to feel strongly and deeply that I wanted to tap into there. And I know people are always saying to me, "You're so
Yeah.
positive stuff, and you're so like happy all the time." Yes, it seems that way, but I also drink deeply from the cup of suffering that is the lot of other people's experience just because it really matters to me to keep in touch. I never want to forget what's happening in my own community as far as the brokenness. When I see someone homeless, is there a sense of empathy that I can extend to them for where they're at in life? I probably can't fix their problems, but is there a way I can sit down with them and maybe just have a conversation with them, you know? So
Hmm.
important.
Small acts of kindness can go like small kindness could just go. It could just change somebody's life forever.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally believe you there. All right, so moving on here, my friend. Um, when you look at yourself in the mirror, do you like what you see, or do you still struggle by way of self-criticism? Another deep
Um,
question here.
yeah, I do struggle with criticism. Sometimes I like it, but sometimes it's just how I'm feeling at that moment. If I'm feeling bad, then no, not really. But if I'm feeling right, then I feel so much better.
Cool. Um, I think a lot of people are in that same boat, Jamie, where they look at the mirror and they're like, instead of looking at what's amazing, they're looking at the blemishes, right? They're looking at the, oh, man, I wish this was this and this.
Yeah,
So let me tell you what I see of you when I see you, just as a counteractive measure, okay? Because it's usually better coming from others. I see, by the way, you know you are extremely handsome, right? This is not
thank
meant
you.
to make the. I appreciate that response. This is not to make the moment awkward at all. It's just a way of extending to you my observations, and especially to
Yeah,
read in who you are. And I think that's an element of communication I want to bring back, especially as far as guys communicating with each other is just speaking candidly and honestly in a way that we don't have to worry about saying, oh, no homo or anything like that. But you are an extremely handsome person. That's the obvious for me, okay? When I see you, Jamie, I see an extremely handsome young guy. That's the obvious that most people can
thank
see.
you.
But I want to go down a little bit deeper and say I also see a person of integrity, which is very costly in today's world. When you see and find a person of integrity who has like a really strong sense of principles that they operate by, that they say, here's how I'm navigating my way forward, where I know that this is out of bounds and this is okay. When they're implementing boundaries, and I've seen you how you do that not only on your own lives, but even on my lives as well, where you're saying, guys, here's the tone we're trying to strike. What you're doing is you're intentionally sticking your neck out there and saying, this is not okay, and I'm willing to do that. Willing to take a risk to be able to implement something that is helpful for the community. And so there's that sense that I really
Yeah,
admire about your character. So there's the two things I was addressing there today, Jamie. On the one hand, it was that you're, yeah, handsome on the outside, but if that was all I had to say, I would say that would be probably sad. The second part is, I think, the necessary corollary, and that is the the pathway you're currently on in life, the way that you're striking forward. I really admire it, and I wanted to encourage you continually towards that direction. It makes you it takes you from the
thank you.
handsome to the man
Thank you.
person is a real quality human being. So it's hard for us to believe these kind of narratives, And that's where I probably want to encourage you and challenge you, my friend, in a way that most of us struggle. Like I'm saying, most of us, even those who are listening, most of us struggle by being kind to ourselves, by being able to say, hey, I'm really worthwhile when they see themselves in the mirror. Here's what I do really well. Here's ways I struggle. But given where I'm currently at, I'm okay with that. Just be kind to ourselves like that is not an easy thing. So I just want you to hear that, brother, okay?
Yeah.
This has not been an easy pot. You're my second one, and I'm not making it easy. But it's good. It's really good. Um, all that by way of addressing identity. Brother, if there's one thing I would say, especially in the current season that you're in, you're sharing a little bit about how you struggle by way of being hard on yourself because you have some high expectations that you want to reach. By all means, work hard, pursue that, but don't ever mix up that your identity is wrapped up with your accomplishments. I did that for the longest time, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's something that is totally distinct about our accomplishments, not informing who we are as people and our worth that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does.
Awesome. We've got just a couple of final minutes here. Let me just finish off with some easier questions. You have been such a trooper, my friend, and I so appreciate you. People are going to be like, man, poor Jamie, Biniam sure put the gauntlet to him. But I so appreciate you because I know you can handle it, and we're playing ball really well. First of all, tell me about your most embarrassing moments. Guys,
I think,
listeners, I just want you to know, again, the premise of my podcast is that I start off with a clear page, but here's the page that I've been amassing just while we are having the interview. So all this is not choreographed in any way. Jamie has no idea what's coming in, so he's just basically getting him raw as he is. So, Jamie, go ahead. Most embarrassing moment.
me dislocating my top, that's probably one of them.
Sorry, would you say that again? You looking at your what?
I dislocated my shoulder by taking a top off.
Oh, no way. So you're removing your shirt and you dislocated your shoulder.
Yeah, I was just taking it off and then it just went out of place and I had to be like for like 2 hours straight.
Wow. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So was that your first time you dislocated your shoulder though, or was that a redislocation?
Oh, that was the first time.
That was the first time. Okay. That's crazy. Oh, because I do know like once you dislocate your shoulder, it's easier for it to redislocate because the socket has been kind of
Oh
stretched
yeah.
on like that, right? So that is a great story though, man. And so there's almost no coming back from that one, is there? To make it fair, let me share my most embarrassing story. My most embarrassing story was when I was working at a grocery store one time, and this lady came to the store and she's like, Biniam, my husband's in your class. I'm like, oh, who is he? She describes him, Jamie, and I can't recognize who her husband is. So I tell her, please bring your husband to the store next time. I saw her a few weeks later, Jamie, and I said, hey, how's it going? Is this your son? And she's like, no, this is my husband, Biniam. I was done for.
Oh.
I can take my personal notes really well. uh, yes, yes, indeed. Okay. Final question before I ask you if you have any questions for me. Final question for you is give me a typical day in the life of Jamie. What does that look like for you?
Could you repeat again? It just the connection.
For sure. What is a typical life in the day of Jamie look like?
At the moment, I go on my Xbox for a while, and then I'll like an hour or two start on my homework, like my schoolwork.
I'm gonna pause you there. I'm gonna pause you because we missed the first part. Start again for me.
So I wake up, I'll go on my Xbox for about an hour or two. Yeah. Then I'll start doing some schoolwork. After that, I'll just finish. I go downstairs for a bit. I eat a lot. I just eat a lot, like
Okay.
because like I grow so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, um, so then and then I'll come back up, do some more work, go on my Xbox. Some days I have football, some days I have basketball training, and sometimes I'll just go out. So I'll go out, and if I go out with my friends, it's normally just like go play like football, soccer, up like on a field and just like mess around and stuff.
Sure.
But it's not a very productive life, but it's something I enjoy doing.
Cool. I have so many more questions that are popping in my mind, but the hour has come to an end. Let me finish off asking if you have a question for me that you have on the radar.
So yeah, so I know you're doing like the Uber and like the podcast and stuff, but with all this, like if it like I believe it's gonna take off. Like it'll take off and you'll go like leaps and bounds. Like like what's your main like hope if you're famous? Like what do you want to spread in the world?
Wow, great question, Jamie. Jess, that's a great question. I strongly resonated with your answer, and I'm going to give your answer again. My desire, my biggest desire, what I want to sell in this world, sell for free, is hope. How can I give hope to people? That sense that it's going to be okay. That sense that they're not a write-off. That sense that there is still a second chance for them. That sense that I believe in second chances in a really big way. That sense where,
Yeah.
given my experiences that I'm sharing, I'm giving them hope that they can take the hard step, that very thing they're freaked out about, that way of modeling what it looks like to talk to their fellow human being and connect at that meaningful level. This is what I want to impart as far as my legacy in this world.
That's like amazing.
Sorry, can you say that again? I just
Oh, I said that's amazing. I really hope you do.
thank you,
So
brother. Um, it has been a fantastic hour. I really enjoyed it. Rich stuff we're talking about. And yes, I did not make it easy, but I want to say thank you for being willing to sort of, you're receiving all this blind, right? You do not know where we're going. I'm the one who's like making making the agenda here. But you did really well by way of sharing yourself. And I feel like I know you a lot better. So thank you for being vulnerable, being willing to be vulnerable, sharing some of the deep values in your own experience. I think it'll be so helpful for others listening as well. And I look forward to our continued deepening friendship. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me.
thank
All right, guys, this has been the Bincast where small talk comes to die. We've been talking to Jamie today.
I,
Thank you for
I
being
appreciate being on.
a
Yeah,
pleasure.
I appreciate like helping. I hope like what I say help somebody else.
Yeah, totally. All right, Jamie, I'll catch you in the lives, I'm sure, pretty soon. Thanks again for taking the time this morning. Talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Um,